Hello, everyone, and welcome back to part 2 of this episode. And we're going to jump right on it. You guys know, you guys are watching the A2B podcast, your number one source of military entrepreneurship and entertainment. Like always, I am joined by my co host, Barry Bull. And I'm here today with Nick DeSimone, Chief Warrant Officer, active duty in the United States Marine Corps, currently selected to Chief Warrant Officer 3. We're going to talk about it. And we're also going to be talking about how essentially was it that he got there? This is not the usual success stories like, yeah, my Marine Corps was perfect. Or let's get to it. You obviously in your second enlistment, you just told us in the part 1, which you can see somewhere around here, that you were a drill instructor because this is all that you wanted to do.
That's all I wanted to do.
Okay. And now you go to the career planner, you fill out your package, and then now you are selected to go to be a drill instructor.
Was that like a re-enlistment incentive or something?
No, at the time, they weren't giving out incentives. I didn't get a bonus. There's no kicker. There's no early incentives.
Sure.
It was just there might be a boat space and when I say boat space, it's like availability of your specialty.
Sure.
And I wasn't promised anything because my MOS is so small. My specialty is so small as an artillery mechanic. So I was actually fighting for spots. So because I did so well, I was a tier 1 Marine. So I was able to re-enlist, and then all I want to do is be a drill instructor. My package gets approved, and I'm going to become a San Diego drill instructor.
Yeah. So you're top 10% Marine in your MOS, and that's Marine Corps wide. This is not like, just at your battalion, your duty station, wherever you're at. You were a recruited Parris Island. What made you decide to go to be a drill instructor at San Diego?
So for me, during that time, I was
other than the fact that it's better.
I was married, and my ex-wife at the time, she was born and raised in Vegas. We wanted to stay on the West Coast. I felt like there was more for her to do. I really wanted to be an East Coast drill instructor, but I'm glad I got to do both.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was the reason behind staying over there and choosing that. Now I was fortunate to get it, because you're not always going to get what you choose. Sometimes the Marine Corps chooses it for you.
Now, based on what you were saying in the part 1, that you were meritoriously promoted to corporal and you were meritoriously promoted to sergeant. You said that you got meritoriously promoted to corporal too in your 1 year, 1 month, and 1 day of you being in the United States Marine Corps, and a lot of your leaders didn't really like that.
Nope.
How was it when now, you were maybe a water walker in the fleet, but now you are confronted with other water walkers that are now drill instructors? How was that impact for you?
You look around and you're like, am I good enough? You look at the guys to your left and your right, you're like, these guys have this and this and this, and you really start questioning yourself and why you made that decision. And on top of that, you're so freaking stressed out.
Yeah.
You're like, nothing I do is good enough. I'm not fast enough. I'm not loud enough. And the instructors are just always on top of you. Like, you can't do anything right. So you're really questioning why you're there. And now you're general population, like you said.
Do you remember DI school at all?
I do.
Yeah.
I remember it.
Did you feel prepared going, and then
Absolutely
did that?
Not.
Okay, so you didn't feel. And then what was your experience like in drill instructor school?
So very quickly I realized that I did not have everything on the packing list. Nor did I receive a packing list at the time. I'm not sure if they issue them out now. But I remember me and my roommate and a couple other guys were just like, we need to get this, we need to get this. I'm like spending all of this money, getting all of this stuff, and like we're getting nail polish remover to put our buckles in, and then we have to buy 2 belts, 2 different sizes, get the frogs for them, cut them a certain way. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I didn't know any of this stuff. And you ask the priors, you're like, what do I got to do to prepare? And they're like, just read teachbacks. And I'm like, first of all, what's a teachback? And what do we do with these things? So I remember the first 2. I think it was like position of attention and salute. So I memorized them. I'm like, okay, I'm ready. Then I get there and they're like, you got to box this bag out. You got to put 3 staples. You got to recruit laminate this thing. I'm like, I am not prepared for this at all.
And you have
completely overwhelmed.
And you have instructors at DI school who are they're drill instructors, but they're called squad instructors, and they are the top 10% of drill instructors on that particular recruit depot. So what was that like? Were they just like, hey guys, if you don't have your stuff, that's cool? What was that?
First of all, you ever seen the movie Space Jam? Like these big giant monsters that are incredible basketball players. That's what I felt like there. Like these guys were monsters. The most squared away Marines I've ever seen in my life. It was like they were handpicked from, like they weren't even real human beings.
Yeah.
And they step in front of us and we're like, holy macaroni. These are the most squared away Marines I've ever seen.
And is there a height requirement for that? Because almost all of them are like above 6 feet, above 230 pounds, but yet somehow miraculously can still run a 17-minute PFT.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
I
do not understand that.
There were all sizes and heights, and some of them were bigger, some of them were taller. The drill master, he was also one of the most squared away Marines I've ever seen in my life. Like the swag this guy had too, like it was just incredible. So my first interpretation of what a drill instructor was bar none. I'm like, I'm not good enough. So going back to what we were saying before, like being general population and then being amongst these like professionals, it was just unreal.
Now, as far as schools go, how challenging was drill instructor school? Even the schools you've been to after the fact. I know you've obviously you're an officer now. Where did DI school stack up for you in that?
I think at that time it was the most challenging. But fast forward to TBS, it was a different challenge. That was more mental.
Sure.
You're just extremely overwhelmed, and TBS being the basic school all officers have to go through. The warrant officer version is a little bit smaller because we don't go to the rifle range. We're not doing McMap. But that was more of a mental sleigh fest where we're writing orders, we're briefing, we're packing, we're doing all of the things. Whereas DI school was very much a physical, demanding school for me.
You're PTing, you're marching everywhere.
You're screaming, you're yelling, your head is pounding.
If you're in San Diego.
And this is the first time you're exposed to this, unless you've been doing this.
Because you went to Paris Island, so this is the first time.
Jesus, fuck.
We do this all the time, you guys. Me and Nick cannot get on the phone without doing this, okay?
He drags me into this.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's like I can't tell it, like, I can't stop myself.
Now, because when I always talk about DI school, for me, you know, in boot camp you had first, second, and third phase. I always looked at DI school like fourth, fifth, and sixth phase.
Pretty much.
Like you learned how to drill, how to conduct close order drill as a drill instructor, you know, in formation as students. And the drill master had like this special way of teaching you. And then he would say something, and then the class of students, drill instructor students, would be marching in a platoon with their swords, and they would
screaming the commands.
Yes, they would scream the commands just like a individual drill instructor, but they would execute it as a platoon. So it really tripped me out, but it's a very effective way of teaching and stuff. I don't know.
Sure. No, I had a lot of confidence leaving DI school. Like I knew I had a lot to learn, but the basics were there. I could drill a platoon. I had a command presence. I understood a little bit about the training schedule, but you're never actually prepared for when you go to the training company and start training recruits.
Now, what company did you end up going to?
The best of the best, Charlie Company. I mean,
all right. Well,
and that's the company that I was in, you guys. 2004 to 2007.
Oh, that's why. Go figure. Go figure.
Ears open, eyeballs click. Look it up, guys.
Hey, right. Charlie Company drill instructors, where you at? We want to know if it's
Sergeant
still like
Major
that.
Kent, 1st Battalion Drill Master, Charlie Company. I'll never forget you. That's right.
Shout out. He's down at F-45 in Miramar.
We need to get you on here, Staff Sergeant Nichols.
I think he's coming. We're inviting him to the Mill Talk Expo.
Yes.
So I think
awesome.
he's gonna be here for the Mill Talk Expo.
So you get to Charlie Company. You finish DI school. You've earned your coveted campaign cover. You're a United States Marine Corps drill instructor. What's it like when you get to the training company?
Whoa. You just feel like you don't know anything. because the drill instructors are like, this is how this company does this thing. Other companies may do it this way. We do it this way. And so they're training you and preparing you for how they, because, the commands are different. The ditties are different. And by ditties, I mean, like, you'll tell something to the recruit will scream something back, and every company has their own thing. So you get there and you're learning all these new things, and you're still, I don't know how to say it, rough around the edges, I guess. I don't know how you would explain it, but you're still not prepared until you've done like a full cycle or two, and now you're really comfortable in your own skin, and you're a part of the team. You're an asset to the team. But at first, you're just lost in the sauce. You don't know what to do. You got your cover, you got your belt, you're running and you're screaming, but you're just learning everything all over again.
Now, if you obviously you were eager to be there, like you wanted to be there, you volunteered to be a drill instructor. You said that this is the only thing that you wanted to do, right? Where did it go wrong?
I would say my understanding of what I thought recruit training was supposed to be.
Okay.
Instead of just listening and doing exactly what the commanders and the chief drill instructors and senior drill instructors told me to do, I was like, yeah, that's cool, but like, I remember recruit training being this way, so I need to conduct myself as such. Being creative, being the most intense. I had this idea that I was supposed to be this monster of a drill instructor, and it just stuck with me. And so I couldn't break free from that mindset and what I saw myself and what I thought I was supposed to be.
Did you get in trouble?
I did. I had a lot of adversity as a sergeant, and I got negative paperwork for stupid shit, doing things I knew I wasn't supposed to do and did them anyway. Nothing that was career ending, but it was enough to slow me down big time, and I really had to gather myself and figure out what it is that I wanted out of this career.
Now, you don't need to mention them all, but can you give us an example, of one
Sure.
of those things? And where did they happen as a sergeant, in the drill field, or did they happen in the drill field and outside of the drill field?
So the only derogatory paperwork that I received was as a sergeant on the depot. In fact, it all happened during a very short period of time. So I had 4 6105s in grade as a sergeant, and 3 of them I received in one day.
God, for different things?
How's that possible?
Yeah,
Who did that?
I know. That's why
I tried to fight it. I sent it up to the Naval Board of Corrections to fight it.
The BCNR?
2 years in a row. I think you had some play in that as well. I did one leaving the depot, and then I did one again at 111. And I tried to fight it, but apparently it was all legitimate. But I received a 6105 for a drinking incident. I wasn't driving my car drunk. I didn't beat my spouse. I simply drank and then went back to the squad bay to sleep it off. And I understand that I was wrong for it. I admit that I was wrong for it. I even, afterwards during the investigation, I told the investigating officer everything. I was like, yeah, I did it. This is what I did. And I think that kind of helped. Instead of me getting NJP'd and RFC relieved for cause and getting kicked off the depot, they were like, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you a 6105 for the drinking incident. And I'm going to give you a 6105 for this other thing that you had done, which I grabbed a recruit and I pushed him over the footlocker. And the series commander saw it. Rightfully so, got a 6105 for that. Another 6105 for calling a recruit trash. I told him to get out of the platoon, go stand over there by the dumpster because you're trash. Got a 6105 for that. And my last 6105 identified the 3 times that I was authorized to come in contact with a recruit. So basically, like if I'm saving his life, saving him from another recruit, stuff like that.
Those are authorized times. You touched a recruit outside of that.
Correct. So I grabbed him, pushed him over the footlocker. That's unauthorized contact.
Yeah.
If I was adjusting his position online, sure. But it was
now,
malicious.
I remember adjusting a lot of positions.
Sure. Right place, right time. I think there are a lot of drill instructors out there that, their intention is not to physically harm a recruit. We get caught up in that moment. We get emotional about that moment. And we think in our minds that this is justified because I'm helping this kid out. At the end of the day, when you take a step outside of it, I own everything that I did. There was no malicious intent behind it, but I got to pay the man.
Was this just like, you know, the cost of doing business? Was this normal?
I think in those moments when you're frustrated, you're tired, you haven't eaten anything, you're pissed off, those emotions are just overwhelming. So you got this kid, this young 18-year-old kid who's can barely tie his boots. He doesn't know how to do anything yet. And you're screaming at the top of your lungs to do this thing over and over and over. The frustration is overwhelming, especially when you really care about what you're doing. So it's hard to keep your
and it's not
composure.
only that, it's also your senior drill instructor and your other drill instructors that have been there for a while. You know, I feel like they kind of teach you or put you in this mindset of being pissed off and tired and all that stuff, so that way you can go out there and take it off.
Let me tell you exactly what they do, okay? Because like I said, okay, and I know Nick here is on active duty, okay? So I'm going to take this one for the team. I'll never forget my first cycle, and Charlie Company is always been really unique. Okay, so typically every company, when they pick up a new platoon of recruits, that is what we call a cycle, okay? So when you hear a drill instructor out there, they're like, I did 5 cycles. They're talking 5 platoons. And we would do things like fire watch rotations. And every company does it because you have to teach the recruits how to stand fire watch. So the drill instructors stay up all night. And you create a watch list, like a rotation, for the drill instructors every single night. Hey, from this time to this time, you need to be going around checking the fire watches, making sure, and every company's different, like I said, but you're teaching recruits procedural things. Well, Charlie Company just always had a way of being above and beyond. And we just did fire watch rotations the entire cycle. It never ended. It never ended. You did it all the time. And, you know, when I was a new drill instructor, I bird dogged an Alpha Company, which was like cupcake land compared to Charlie, okay? I'm a drill instructor at this point, right? And I thought this was hard, you know? I mean, they were gonna make us go up north with them. I mean, we bird dogged for, you know, all of first phase. I'm ready to die. I'm like death warmed over, and Charlie Company is picking up, and that's my actual company that I'm assigned to, right? So all the work I just did was like for free. So we're like doing the, you know, the walkouts, as it's called, when the drill instructors march out to meet the platoon and for the first time. I'm like falling asleep out there, okay? And every night, this is every single night like clockwork. Nobody would talk to me because you're a new drill instructor, and in Charlie Company was very, very segregated.
Why is it that toxic though?
I don't know, but it's very segregated. So you couldn't just go up and say, hey, Staff Sergeant, hey,
What do I do?
I'm so hungry right now. It doesn't work like that. They won't talk to you, right? They're gonna tell you what to do, and you just do it, and you don't say a word other than that, right? And it was always from like 01 to 03. And my J, right, he is just under the senior drill instructor, teaches all the drill, teaches in-house procedures. He teaches recruits how to be recruits, how to march and all that, right? He'd come out and he'd say just like this. I'll never forget it because it was such an off number, okay? I'm still in uniform of the day. And they're all like in PT gear. They've taken showers. They changed over, right? The recruits are all in bed. They've been in bed for hours. And I'm just out there just causing chaos, okay? You know, I'm spraying recruits with water, putting the fan on them and stuff. You know, anyways.
The fuck?
Yeah, just to make sure that they weren't hot. And the J would come out every night and he'd go, hey, Bobby, come here. In San Diego, that's what we call new drill instructors, is Bobby, right? And pop quiz, if you know what that comes from, drop it in the comments because not many people know where that comes from. And yes, I do know where it comes from. But he'd come out and he'd go, all right, hey, check it out, Bobby. You can come in the duty hut. I haven't been in the duty hut at all. I haven't sat down. I haven't drank. I haven't eaten. Nothing. Bobby, come on in the duty hut. You can take a shower, get a bite to eat. You can, you know, get some sleep. But I need you back out here on deck in uniform of the day in 40 minutes. 40 minutes, okay? So
That's
literally,
ridiculous.
Literally, I'm in the shower drinking a Mountain Dew Code Red. Shout out to Mountain Dew Code Reds. You saved my life on more than one occasion. I'm telling you, that's a real thing. And eating a freaking Pop-Tart in the shower.
I used to drink the shower water.
I'm not. See, you see what I'm.
I used to drink the shower because they'd be like, go back to the house, change over. So when we get back with the platoon, you can receive them and get them through the showers.
Yeah.
So I'd be showering, drinking the shower water. You
So-
don't have time.
Yeah, so 40
That's
minutes,
fucking
man.
crazy.
And you're just
Why
dying.
would now?
So what Nick is talking about, when a recruit, and you've told the recruit even freaking one time, and the drill instructors and the seniors, it's just I got hazed all day.
I think
The
they're
recruits
trying
aren't
to
scared of
make
you.
either quit
Yes.
or get really freaking strong, so that when you are training recruits, you're there 24/7 and you're
Yeah.
training them. They get one recruit training experience.
Charlie
So we
Company
try to
was
give them
very
everything.
unique, right? You were supposed to have one volume, one speed. I never prompted a recruit, so you couldn't go to prompting a recruit is when you say it like this: open your mouth. If I prompted a recruit, I'm not getting signed off. I'm not going home that night. You can forget that, right? The recruit, you gave them one opportunity. You just issued an order, and if they didn't do it to the best of their ability, they were reprimanded immediately.
Okay.
I remember open your mouth was like the worst thing you could say to a recruit. Because what do you do when they just go like this?
Yeah,
He
exactly.
did what he was told to do.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So
Okay, but
that's what it
Tell
was
him
like.
exactly what you want him to do.
Oh man, this is hard, and I think this is definitely a topic that we need to go a little bit more in not. I don't think right now, because obviously there's still a lot more that we need to talk about, but we need to give this another aspect, because you guys are going like super hardcore whenever it comes to like how to be the best drill instructor, how to do this, how to do that. But at the same time, man, like how do you take that campaign cover off and go home and be a dad?
Yeah, I don't know.
How do you go home and be a husband? Like what kind of like Meech was saying. And again, we can hit the wave stops now.
I'll tell you. I'll answer
Yeah.
that. It's really very straightforward. I mean, people think you go home and you want to act like that. Whoever's at your house, for me, I was married at the time, and we had one child. Your spouse and kid, they might have 10 minutes before whatever that button is on your bottom when you sit
you fall
down and
asleep.
you're falling asleep in your dinner plate.
I remember falling asleep, taking my boots off on the stairs.
You don't even
falling
want
asleep
to
at the
talk.
kitchen table.
You don't want to talk, let alone yell.
Your head hurts, your throat hurts. And I was
insane.
fortunate because my ex, we didn't have children together.
Yeah.
And I would get home and she would have my shit packed for me because she knew I was out the door 03 because I got to be
Wow,
on
that's
deck
really
at
good.
04. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, that's really good.
she took care of me. I had a place to sleep. I had a place. That's all I really cared about when I was home. If I had a child,
Dude, that's
I
funny
don't
you
even
say
know.
that.
I don't even know what I would have done with that time.
Yeah.
I probably would have beat myself up pretty good about it too now in
Yeah.
hindsight because I wasn't giving time to anything other than training recruits.
That's
that was
funny
my
you
mindset.
say that, man.
Yeah,
I
wow.
remember my ex-wife, and shout out Annie if you see this. She saved my life. I mean, she didn't even. I don't think she realized it. And they ended up putting her in the hot scoop because we had the Charlie Awards at the bottom of the hot scoop. It's gonna get me emotional, man, because she used to come after lights and put stuff in the back of I had a little truck, where you had all your uniforms back there, and she'd put little Scooby snacks back there. We call it Pogey bait. She'd put the Mountain Dew Code Reds. And there were times when I'd be IT-ing recruits, I'd send them back to the house, and I could duck behind my truck and take a freaking swig of a Mountain Dew Code Red. And sometimes that kept you literally like you felt like you were gonna die. And that was at the time that was my wife.
Okay.
Yeah, I could talk about this for days, but
Yeah, I know.
That's
That's what I'm saying. And essentially, the reason why I want to go into detail is because a lot of people now that might see this podcast and know you or have known you as an officer for X amount of time, and the only thing that they know is, Chief Warrant Officer DeSimone.
Right.
I want them to see, man, like, first of all, you're a real fucking human being.
Yes.
That is from New York, right? Long Island, right? Long Island, New York. Second thing is, I wanted to see, like, you went through the fucking trenches in Afghanistan, 31st MEU, you were 311. 31st
Survived
MEU.
311.
Yeah, exactly.
in
You
29
survived
Palms.
311 and 29 Palms. And then now you're a drill instructor.
Yep.
You had three fucking unheard of, by the way.
Unheard
Three
of.
6105s. No, I know, but with three of them in one day.
If there's a lawyer out there, they need to touch on that because my
for real.
understanding is you have to adjudicate all known offenses at the same time.
And I'm going off of what you're saying. I don't know, but I've heard you speak about that before.
Somebody.
So that's why I'm like, okay, so you got three of them in one day. One of them shortly after, within a 1 year period, I think you said.
The one was actually before, and then the three were shortly after that.
Okay, so and then after that, how is Sergeant DeSimone feeling at this moment? It's like, man, my career's over.
That's how I felt. Very early on, I was like, wow. I hope by the time I am in zone that I'm, well, nope. As soon as I would say, even before I left the depot, I'm already in zone. I got my first P. I was passed for promotion to staff sergeant.
In zone for staff sergeant. He's a senior sergeant. He's eligible for promotion to E6 in the Marine Corps, which is a staff sergeant. And automatically
passed.
That board comes up where all these packages are getting reviewed by all these senior Marines in the Marine Corps, and they said no.
So I have, basically it looks like I'm an alcoholic. I'm an abuser. I don't know the standard operating procedures, and I'm verbally abusive. So that's what it looks like on paper. Yeah. But read this stuff, and
in all fairness to you, that's 90% of the Marine Corps.
So I say that too. It's like, I mean, there's hats that are doing everything under the sun the right way, but the majority are literally making mistakes every day. So how do we hold them accountable? It's like, well, let's just look at it from like a real expectation. These guys are putting their careers on the line. How do we help them out? So for me, that's my biggest thing. I'm an advocate for guys that are like struggling, who have been in trouble.
Yeah,
I'm all about those guys because those are the guys that are working twice as hard to get something that somebody
they usually make the best Marines.
Yeah,
they do.
If they have adversity,
well, because
and fought through it and got through it and got to the next level, that means they worked 10 times harder than the next
they want that opportunity to prove themselves. But if you're looking for drill instructors that are struggling, just go to 3rd Battalion. It's all of them, right? And it doesn't even matter. You know, and it's tough. They don't know what to do.
3rd Recruit Training Battalion, where are you at? They're calling you out.
And it's tough to speak on like now because I'm so far removed from it, and I'm just an observer, looking into it now, and to see the honestly, I'm happy for the drill instructors now because it's a different tempo. I'm just going to say that it's just different from what you experienced and then from what I experienced, and we're always going to criticize the next generation. I'm not going to do that, but I would say I'd much rather be a hat right now because they're taking care of each other. I actually don't even know that I want to even go into it because I can't really speak on it. I don't really know
what you're saying. What Nick is professionally trying to say is that a lot of that hazing stuff has gone away. I can genuinely say as a senior drill instructor, I did not do the things that were done to me. I never did. I made my drill instructors work, but I never had them do anything that didn't legitimately need to be done. I always made sure that they had chow. No, I didn't let them eat in the recruit chow hall, okay, guys? But I made sure that they ate food before or after. They could come in the duty at any time. I didn't play those games, man. I wanted my drill instructors to learn, to work hard, to train the recruits, and I just never had an issue. You just don't got to go above and beyond with a lot of the weird games.
There are a lot of isms that aren't being done now.
That's right.
And so if you're a prior and you just got there, things are going to be different. And honestly, to get a prior on here would probably be a good idea. There's a couple of them out there that could probably speak.
Yeah, we had a prior female drill instructor.
Right
we
now.
haven't aired that episode though, right?
We haven't aired that episode yet.
That was a good one with.
So you guys can probably, by the time that this episode comes out, it's probably going to be here. So I'll link it up here. Okay, guys. So obviously you're feeling okay. My career's over. You got past that first time. How many times did you end up getting past?
I got past 3 times total. So I was a sergeant for 6.5 years. I went from the depot to 111, and now I'm the maintenance chief. That's where Sergeant Major and I met, and now I'm really going through it because I just PCS'd. I married my wife. I have 2 stepchildren. What the hell am I doing? What am I doing with my career? Where am I at? I have to take a look around. I said, you know what? This is what I want to do. So I'm going to give it everything I got. Started going to college. Started doing SEJPME, Senior Enlisted Joint Professional Military Education. I started asking all the senior leaders, like, what do I have to do? And they're looking at my master brief sheet, which has all the stuff on it that I've done. And they're like, just got to give it time. And in my head, I'm like, I can't do that. Like,
Time is something you didn't even have.
I didn't. I'm like, okay, give it time. I'm going to get past it again. I feel like I'm not far enough away from the adversity. So really, that's all I could do. But while I have this time, what is everybody else not doing?
Yeah.
So I'm going to college. I'm volunteering my butt off. I'm part of the command team. I'm doing everything under the sun. I'm volunteering in March platoons out in San Juan Capistrano.
Yeah. That was amazing, though.
I'm out there
because that was our
hooking and
adopted
jabbing.
city in 111. They used to take good care of us, and this guy goes out there just like freaking it was amazing.
They were always used to donate to the Marine Corps ball, right?
Yep.
I'm
Yeah, I
donating for
remember
the
that.
Christmas part, or I'm volunteering for the Christmas parties.
What year was
I'm doing
this?
everything under the sun. I was there from 2015 to 2018.
Okay, I was already gone.
Now
Okay.
you're getting passed for promotion, okay, but at the same time, now you met your current wife, okay,
Right before I left the depot.
Okay, did she already have children?
She did. She had 2 sons.
Because I remember this, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's taking on a new family, and he may not be a Marine that much longer.
Yeah, and that was my wife, man, she was there for me no matter what. I was living in the barracks, and I was like, I can't even afford to pay the crap that I don't even have anymore through this divorce. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, and I was like, I'm probably going to get married and pay off all this debt. She's like, if we're together, you're fucking marrying me.
Now, how
And
did
we
you
got
guys
fucking married. She was like,
did
I'm
you
gonna hold
guys
it down.
meet on Christian Mingle?
We met at the depot, not on Christian Mingle. Even though she is a saint.
She's an angel.
She's an angel. We met on the depot. She worked there at building. And before I left, and I love telling this story, my key didn't work. And so I'm a geo bachelor. And I go to get my key. She's like, you need to go see the duty. I'm like, what the fuck is the duty? And she's laughing at me. I'm like, how's the duty going to fix this? Can you just fix it? She's like, I'll fix it.
Did she
She's
really
like, why
roll her
don't-
eyes?
She goes,
did she
"Why?"
have an attitude? Did you have an attitude?
She was about to get off of work, and she's like, please don't walk in here. So I walk in there. And she tells me, why don't you break the door down with your gains? That's what she tells me. And I'm thinking, oh, I am looking strong. I must be.
You got puffed up.
I did. My
She
ego.
I
hyped
would
you
have
up. She
too.
hyped
She
you up.
hyped me up. I was like smiling and like laughing, and she's like, cool. So I go. She fixes my card. I go. I'm like, I need to go back there. So I'm like, my card's still not working. She's like, what? Like, what's going on with it? So I don't know. So she fixes it
Oh, so
again.
it doesn't
I
have
go,
your number on it. Hey, that's a good one. That's
Watch
a good
out,
one.
Valerie.
She
Albert's,
ends up-
he's a player. You see,
No,
that
no,
was
no, I
smooth.
did- I- no.
No, that was
No.
smooth, and you know what you did.
I do this for a
no,
living.
you're
You
gonna get him in
know.
I do this for a
trouble.
living.
You know.
She knows I do this for a living. It's my job to come up with this
I'm
thing.
taking
so
notes,
I-
Valerie, from
you know.
Albert.
Okay, so you say you go back there.
And then I asked for her, and her coworker's like, she's out.
Mm.
But her
Just
coworker,
imagine you calling for.
Judy, like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Where are you? You know. And, they're like,
And I'm not
"Who's
Slade at this point. I got a
this?"
comb over.
Oh, you are just.
I'm coming off quota. I'm
Hey.
heavy, and I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm ready to go PCS. But I meet her right before I leave for Camp Pendleton, California.
Yeah.
And her and I, we started dating, and we hit it off. And she was literally there for me every time I got a pee.
Do you remember? Okay. Do you remember your first date?
I remember it like it was yesterday.
Where'd you guys go?
Went to the beach.
What?
First of all, okay, let me
That's
back up.
okay. That's a reasonable first date.
No, I love it.
We went
As a matter of fact,
to-
you need to get her in the water because what if she's always wearing
Albert,
makeup?
stop with your playerisms.
We went to a movie.
This fool got more game than Parker Brothers.
We went to a movie and we watched half of Mission Impossible. And we were like,
This is stupid.
we went out to eat at the Cheesecake Factory. And then I bought a Marine Corps blanket. And I bought it for her so we can lay down at the beach and just talk.
See, that's nice.
Nick,
I bought
That's
her a
nice.
white
so we
rose.
can lay down and talk.
And all we did was talk.
About.
This woman is a saint, remember.
Okay,
Met
I'm
on
sorry.
Christian Mingle.
Or farmers only.
Maybe if she's from Bakerfield, maybe.
She
maybe.
was from San Diego.
Okay,
Originally
okay.
from the Philippines.
Okay,
Okay.
got you.
And so we go on this date. I ask her if she would be my girlfriend. And she looked at her phone and she's like scrolling and she's just like, I don't know. She's like trying to make up her mind. I was like, you have to think about it? Like, man, kind of crushed me a little bit.
You asked her to be your girlfriend on the first date?
I had to snatch this woman up. Like, there was no way I was going to let her walk away without something.
But you understand, you're a
solidifying
sergeant,
this.
you've been in trouble, you just got out of a divorce. Like, people are looking at you like you're a limo
She
rep.
loves me for me, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So the one thing that I do have to ask, right? It's like, okay, so now you got passed over. You're thinking like, man, like you're fighting hard for your career, but are you fighting hard for your career because you cannot make it financially outside of the military, or because you sincerely are still passionate about the Marine Corps at this point?
I knew from day one that I wasn't going to make $1 million in the Marine Corps. I just really wanted to get promoted and stay in and serve. So the only way to stay in was if I got promoted. Because the Marine Corps will push you out at a certain time period. And I was reaching my EAS.
Yeah, your service limitations.
Yeah,
So I was about to get forced out of the Marine Corps. So I finally get selected at 10 years. And my EAS was coming up. So I get selected. I'm like number 45 on the list because I had been a sergeant forever.
Sure.
And I asked the battalion sergeant major if I can get the battalion to watch my promotion. And they got to see a staff NCO promotion. Actually, Staff Sergeant Arroyo, I would love to talk about him. He's going through adversity right now.
Is he really?
He's getting peed right now. Him and I got promoted at the same time. So he knows exactly what I'm going through with that stuff. And it's all because of adversity on the depot. So the message is very clear. Do not screw up your career on the depot.
Yeah, or any SDA.
But can
Or
we also
literally
talk
anywhere.
about some of the guys that we sent down to the depot when we were at 111? I mean, look at, he's a gunny now. He's at DI school. Did you remember him?
I know like Guerrero. Guerrero is over there right now.
Moreno
selected
went
for
down
gunny.
there.
Rosie.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's so many good Marines that come from
Yeah.
artillery.
De La
units.
Rosa,
De La
Moreno
Rosa,
went
there you go.
down there. They all went to Charlie Company. Sometimes with you guys, I'll tell you, sometimes you got to call in a couple of favors. So never forget that. You're very high up in the Marine Corps and stuff like that. You know a lot of people, and sometimes you got to call in a couple of favors. And sometimes I would do that all the time, and I never told anybody about it. But at the same time, we got to take care of each other, because somebody has to. You got a Marine to Marine tell somebody, listen, this is the guy we need. You're looking at his paperwork. I know
talent management.
Yeah.
Talent management. Look, listen. Hold on. I know what it looks like. I'm telling you, I will bet everything on this guy. And that's what you are.
Absolutely. And I love when Marines hit me up, especially when they're facing any sort of adversity, because I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt.
Yeah.
And they're just like you said, my career is over. They get in trouble one time, my career is over.
Yeah.
I beg to differ, my friend.
Well, because
Yeah,
nobody's there to tell you otherwise.
No,
Correct.
it's because I'm gonna tell you what happened. It's because of the story that I always tell of when I went to career school. I went to career school. It was this one sergeant major. It was a singular sergeant major that was there, but he was in front of this whole group of staff NCOs from all across, one MEF. And then all of a sudden he's like going like, if you did this or if you're not doing this, you're gonna be in trouble and you're gonna be kicked out and you're this and you're that. So all the staff NCOs are looking to each other. It's like, oh, then I guess I'm done. Then why the fuck am I going to
But
career
why,
school?
why do leaders do that?
And then
Probably because they never experienced adversity.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They never experienced adversity, and now they look at it as like this huge career ender.
And I will say that it will put you back. It will put you behind.
Sure.
But
you ain't out of the
in
fight.
grade. Absolutely not.
Yeah, exactly.
We had a sergeant major of the Marine Corps like that, and we all know who they were. I'm not going to say who was, but every time they came to speak, I felt like the plane was crashing for 2 freaking hours. And I'm just like, come on, man. You're like,
Yeah.
They're supposed to be motivating.
Yeah.
I get it. I don't know. It just, I couldn't take it. I'm like, okay,
I mean,
we're
but
going down. We're still going down.
I guess I kind of understand where they're coming from because it's a sergeant major, you know, unless it comes from you internally as a sergeant major, the positive things, let's be honest, they're very little.
It's hard.
It's very little.
Especially when you're dealing with Marines who are always in trouble.
Exactly.
All day.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So you're seeing all those are all the experiences that you're seeing as a sergeant major. It's like all the people that make mistakes. I'm not gonna call them shitbags, but essentially all the people that made mistakes. And then now you're like, man, I gotta tell these people. Unconsciously, that's what the sergeant major is doing.
You don't have to use that word. You can just say recruiters.
Okay. No, because the recruiters don't even have to go through that.
See, that was a joke. I love recruiters.
I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna tell you this though. Something, because obviously I was 0811. Something that I always say that artillery gave me, it was leadership. It didn't give me a lot of other tangible traits that I could take outside of the Marine Corps, but it gave me something very important in order that I take to this day, and it's what you said earlier, is one, command presence, and the second is gave me a shit ton of leadership.
What's command presence in your own words?
Man, when you walk in a room and people know that you just walked into a freaking room. That is essentially what command presence is. And it's not, you don't have to be the loudest, you don't have to be, but that your presence, your aura, I guess we can call it, is like, damn, who the hell is this guy that just walked in? Or better yet, when people say Albert Ramos or Barry Bull just walked into the fucking
It's that
building.
confidence, right?
Yeah.
It's like, here is a U.S. Marine, he whatever, and you walk in there and you just own the place.
Yeah.
You know, how you carry
and
yourself.
To this day, a lot of people, and then now even with the beard, people still tell me, it's like, hey, were you in the Marine Corps? They don't, it's funny because they don't say, were you in the military? They say, hey, were you in the Marine Corps? That's the difference in between the other branches.
Yeah.
You might have to ask, whenever you go in with a Marine, like, you know, there's something different, the way that they carry themselves, that you know is a Marine. Yeah, that you know it was in the Marine Corps. Now, you pick up, and you're right at your service limitation. You were number 45 on the list. You get promoted to staff sergeant. What made you take the decision of wanting to become a chief warrant officer as a staff NCO?
There it is. There's the big question. I had an incredible ordnance officer at the time who, when he checked in, he was a brand new warrant officer. And the first thing he says to me is, what can I do to help you? That's the first thing he tells me.
It's the best question you can ask.
And I said, sir, I don't even know right now. We got a lot of inspection stuff coming up. I'm just, prepping for that. If anything, maybe like one more computer. I see him write it down and he goes off. A couple days later, he comes back with a computer. And to me, I was like, wow, I've never seen that before. Like, he was working for me. And I was like, that's what I want to do.
You're getting goosebumps again.
I talk about it.
Yeah. I don't like this story because I wanted Nick to be a sergeant major.
He did, and he used to be like,
I don't like this story.
He's like, excuse me, first sergeants get in here because Staff Sergeant DeSimone is requesting salutes already. Like, you got to be shitting me. I'm outcasted already.
I did used to do that.
And he would do things like that. And so he was not my first great example of a chief warrant officer, but he was the one that grabbed my arm and said, you're going to do this. And I was like, well, I want to be a gunny because I don't know how to lead gunnies. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, you need to do this now. And so I went to a field op, and I'm not going to say any names, but we're in the Staffano Hooch out in Camp Wilson.
Beautiful place.
And I'm watching
That's a beautiful
these
place.
senior staff NCOs and officers conduct themselves, and I was like, there's no way that people like this are going to make decisions on my behalf and my Marines' behalf.
Yeah.
And that was that was it. And I was like, sir, I'm going to submit. He's like, all right. So that 2-week winter break, when everyone gets, the Marine Corps Ramadan, and as you will, the December break that we get, I stayed at the office for 2 weeks and made my package. And I submitted my package. I didn't get it on the first look, but I got it on the second one. But Captain Mark Gutierrez is the reason why I'm a chief warrant officer today, and he's still serving.
Were you ever scared that if you would have stayed in as enlisted, that you would have continued to be passed over, and then that was the only route that was given to you, like chief warrant officer?
There is a joke about warrant officers. They say that they become warrant officers because they couldn't get promoted to gunny.
Okay.
And I think that could be that could be a reality for some of the Marines because of their MOS or whatever. I had no doubt that I was going to continue to get promoted. but I knew that the impact that I could have with Marines, building a culture for my team, sitting at the desk with the commander, having say, standing in front of my guys, that to me meant more than anything. Gotcha. And I saw that because that's what he did. I didn't have to worry because I knew he had my back.
And are you an ordnance officer now?
Yes. So I'm a 2120 small arms repair officer. So we work in the armories. We're responsible for the physical security, arms, ammunitions, and explosives, and just the overall maintenance of the equipment inside the armory.
Now, have there been times, since you become a warrant officer and an officer in the Marine Corps, where you thought, man, I would have never had this kind of influence as an enlisted Marine, or whether it was maybe you're trying to advocate for your Marines, trying to get them on a special duty, an award, or maybe punishment?
I'll be honest with you. When I feel like I work with the sergeant majors. I work with the first sergeant. So whenever I'm putting
I always say that.
Whenever I'm putting like a package together for like a meritorious promotion or NCO of the quarter board, I talk to the first sergeants like, we're a team. Like, let's get this guy what he needs. And I feel like I have way more influence than I could have as a gunny.
Sure.
Simply because I don't know, maybe I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like when a chief warrant officer walks in and talks to a sergeant major and he gives a shit about his Marines, I feel like that goes a little bit further than the staff sergeant who's like, hey, Sergeant Major, I got this package for this Marine. He's awesome. I don't know. But when I walk in and I talk, and because I build that rapport over time, especially with the senior enlisted, because they do fucking have a say.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, for me, and this is just my experience, the warrant officers and the chief warrant officers were like the Rodney Dangerfields and the master guns and the master sergeants of the officer community. And it was just like a lot of unprofessionalism, a lot of standards not being adhered to. And
as chief warrant officers?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. And they talked a lot about how it was when they were this and they were that. And I'd be there like, you ain't that. You ain't that. You're a chief warrant officer 3 now. So that's what I need from you, sir. Can you, whatever, right? And so I guarantee Nick's, you stick out like a sore thumb. I'll guarantee it.
I would love to
because
speak on that too.
Chief warrant officers are not built like this.
Yeah.
I was going to say too, like a lot of the, and I'm not speaking for everyone, but a lot of the chief warrant officers now, they lean on their subject matter expertise. And that's what we are as warrant officers. We get selected for our credibility in our MOSs. But I didn't come here to be the master at putting together an M16. I came here to stand in front of Marines.
Yeah.
And so like people, I think they forget that our job is to lead Marines, not, tell stories about how great we were in our time. Like you're still here. You're still standing in front of Marines. So, for me, that's the most important thing.
We've been blessed though. We've been blessed though that the chief warrant officers that we've had in the podcast are great examples of what it means to be a chief warrant officer.
You know
what I'm saying?
I will say Nick is the best. And that's just,
Is it because my feet are at a 45?
Well, it's factual.
Yeah, his feet are still at a 45.
Still,
they've been at a 45 for an hour and 30 minutes now, guys.
Yeah.
I was on a few boards.
Yeah, no, you're right, though. It's like we forget sometimes that, and I asked off camera, Nick and I were talking a little bit about it, and I know I mentioned a little bit earlier, but, when we want to be a recruiter, or we want to be a drill instructor, or I want to be a first sergeant, or I want to be a warrant officer, chief warrant officer, or whatever the case is, every single time when I'm talking to a Marine, it's because of someone. Someone was in that rank or that job or that place, and that someone represented something very special to you. Something little. You guys should be leaders. Pay attention. Nick is talking about his chief warrant officer. Well, he was a warrant officer.
He was a warrant officer, brand new. That was his first duty station as a warrant officer.
And the guy goes and gets you a computer.
I guarantee you he was a recruiter.
And he goes and gets
Was
a
he a
Nick.
recruiter?
He stayed in his MOS.
Yeah.
I think he went to I&I duty.
So default was drone
in like
instructor.
Miami, I want to say.
But something little like that, you didn't
Yeah.
take it as something little. To
No,
you, you were
it
like,
meant
whoa.
everything.
Dude, you know how hard it is to get a computer in an artillery battalion? I mean, you know. Well, I mean, you were a sergeant major, so that shit don't
killed
count.
the guy.
Yeah, you probably
So,
you probably had to
seriously.
strangle somebody. Dude, that's
I
just-
remember what that felt like, and I was like, so if I do nothing else right, if I serve my Marines and I take care of them, everything else will fall into place. 'Cause
Yes.
that's all I needed.
Well,
Dude.
and look at how good you felt. Like it was a wow moment for you.
That was everything.
And that changed the trajectory of your career.
Correct. That one individual.
Yeah.
Literally, and he didn't just like.
He's getting
hey,
goosebumps
hey,
again.
Yeah.
you should submit. It was you are going to submit.
Now you still made the wrong decision.
I'll tell you right now, I'm not done. I have the legs to continue moving forward, and this isn't my last move. I'm not going to state it for the audience yet, but I got some things in the works that I'm contemplating time now.
Oh yeah. So Nick, I really want to thank you for coming here and taking out of your busy schedule to come over here and essentially spread the message to the masses. Maybe, I think we reached a wide audience today. People that were literally trying to join the military, people that are going through adversity in the military, leaders that might have Marines that are going through adversity and don't know how to lead those Marines, and essentially people that are making or looking into making the decision into becoming a chief warrant officer or an officer really in the United States Marine Corps. So I really appreciate you bringing us your perspective and your knowledge and essentially your leadership up to this, up to our podcast. And you're always welcome back on the podcast, man. So I definitely appreciate you coming over here. Barry, where can people find you at?
You guys know where to find me. Instagram at Bull5277. TikTok is at Bull52772. Go to YouTube as well. Subscribe the A to B podcast. This is the only place that you can find this stuff, and we do this for you. Okay, so when there's topics, questions, or guests, drop them in the comments. Shoot us a direct message. Sharing is the most valuable thing that you can do. That's where you can find me. That's where you can find us. And again, we do this for you, okay? Go to the links in my bio. Schedule a call. The call is free, and the change will last you a lifetime.
And Nick, where can people find you at?
So I just recently activated my Instagram account. It's n.d. spell out the number 3. So nd3 is my Instagram account. Ask any questions you have, whether it's fitness, leadership questions, Marine Corps questions. I'm more than happy to answer and help everybody, and I appreciate you guys for continued service and promoting the Marine Corps in a positive way. Because there's guys out there that are actually really working hard and really love what we do. So thanks for spotlighting that, and thanks for your time. Thanks for what you guys do.